This Saturday is the 106th annual International Women's Day, giving the world an opportunity to celebrate how far women have come in closing the gender gap, and yet how far we still have to go. And many events being held across the country and around the world will focus on empowerment and awareness of social and economic issues affecting women. But it does not have to be just women who take part in these events and committing themselves to pushing for gender equality. My colleague, MSNBC anchor Richard Louis, writes about the role men have to play in this important issue for MSNBC.com, saying, quote, understanding gender equality also means understanding political and economic power dynamics favoring men. We control 81% of Congress. We hold 95% of Fortune 500 CEO titles. We sit in 70% of the state judge seats. It's men and boys, soon to be men, in the driver's seat. It's us then that are obligated to help make change. My colleague Richard is here with me right now. I love what you've written here because obviously this is like the civil rights movement, for example,
right,
when whites joined in the fight down south to help, or as it relates to same-sex marriage and equality amongst gays and lesbians. People, particularly in sports, for example, who've come out and said, I'm not gay, but I support Jason Collins. And you need that balance, and you're saying the same with gender equality.
Gender equality, right? When we hear gender equality, immediately we think it's a woman's issue,
right,
not a men's issue. When we hear racism, we think that it has to do with African Americans, not white Americans. So that's the entire context of this discussion, that men should be involved, especially given the power dynamics that you described. So if 70% of the seats in the state courts are held by men, they are the ones that are therefore hearing the cases that may involve gender equality issues, gender violence issues, and they'll have to make those decisions. So the awareness and the obligation for men, given the fact that they are in these positions of power, the dominant position, obligates us to become involved.
You're not running for office.
No.
You're still a journalist,
Absolute
but you're
journalist.
the ambassador for
Right.
an organization, Plan International, which focuses on gender equality. 70 countries, and you travel to El Salvador as part of a mission to talk with young girls and empower young girls.
Yeah, and what we found, because the idea is here, Tamron, is as you go to all these countries, what works best? When we're talking about gender equality, we can get to them young, when they're younger, when they're boys and when they're girls, they get the lessons in early. So, for instance, with the Because I Am a Girl campaign, they reach out to young boys to say, hey, do you realize this is wrong? In fact, I spoke with one gentleman called Noah, just 19 years old. He bullied kids when he grew up, but do you know what? It was often in his place that it was seen as being a man. If you did not use violence with your significant other, with your girlfriend, you weren't a man. But he learned because he got his girlfriend pregnant. And he realized that she, as a teen mother, was going to be treated wholly different than he was going to be treated as a teen boy. That's what changed him. So when these programs can be applied to different countries, the United States included, where 1 in 4 women in their entire lives will at one point experience domestic violence. The offenders most often, as you know, men.
Well, Richard, we're so proud of the work you're doing and bringing this to the table. And thanks for joining us for it. We're going to continue the conversation with you. Thanks, Richard. Good stuff. And check it out on MSNBC.com, Richard's op-ed. It's a must-read. And that does it for this edition of News Nation. I'm Tamron Hall. Be sure to check out the Gut Check. It is online. I'm going to read some of your comments tomorrow. It's regarding the Ground Zero cross and whether it should be allowed inside the 9/11 museum. And again, check out Richard Louis' op-ed at MSNBC.com on gender equality and a man or some boy's role in all of this. Up next, Andrew and Mitchell reports.